Every real estate investor has a different property, a different strategy, and even a different portfolio. What we will share that's not different is how we got started. And today I'm here with my really great friend, Ty Lewis. He's got an absolutely amazing story that he shared with me at BP Con back in Orlando 2023 this year. And I thought, hey, Ty, we need to have you on the Bigger Pockets YouTube channel and get to know your story a little bit more. Today I'm joined with my great friend, Ty Lewis. Ty, how you doing today?
Good, Noah, man. Thanks for the opportunity. It's good to see you again. I'm excited to share a little bit of my story and how I got started.
Yeah, and like I said, I've already heard this story, so pretend like I'm not here. I'll be a great fly on the wall for you, but tell the whole community about how you got started, and go ahead. Let us hear it, Ty.
So really for me, started back in 2020. And I say that because unfortunately I had a passing in my family. My dad passed away. The reason I like to share that is because that was a transformational moment for me. When that happened, I looked back at my life. I grew up in Stone Mountain, Georgia, with my mom and grandparents. And my mom was an accountant. My grandpa was a hardworking math teacher. And my grandma was actually a real estate agent, but never really understood the side of owning and investing, really just on the buying and listing side. So I moved up to the Quad City area, which is where I'm at now, which is in Western Illinois, Eastern Iowa. And I started living with my dad in 2013. And we were renting, and single dad. He was a truck driver, worked long hours. So I saw that. And, when I was in sports and school, like he would make it home for dinner sometimes, but then had to go to bed early because he had to wake up early in the morning. So I went to school, 2-year college in my area, and then transferred to a 4-year. But right before I transferred, he passed away. And that was really hard on me. And for me, I had to look back and just be like, hey, he just had started his business right before he passed. So I remember him telling me about it. It was Lewis Unstoppable LLC. This was going to include real estate. This was going to include trucking, estate planning, taxes. He had a whole big plan, and unfortunately he passed away. So at that moment, and a couple months later, as I, grieved and got through that, I looked back and I was like, I can't wait until I'm 30, 40, 50 to really get started in real estate or just get started in business. That point when he passed away was transformational because I needed that to push me to where I'm at now. And I know he's looking down on me, and I'm big on legacy when it comes to just legacy and business because he started it. And now I feel like it's my responsibility to continue it on. So back in 2021, I had a friend that introduced me to Rich Dad Poor Dad, where that book, along with the internship I had in banking, me going to school, and surrounding myself with people that were in real estate led to me learning about real estate, led to me reading a book, getting involved with Bigger Pockets, getting involved with other podcasts and other real estate communities. And that led to me going to an event where I ended up meeting some real estate agents, real estate investors, where that actually led to me getting my first deal back in 2023, where I got a duplex that I'm now still house hacking and cash flowing $300.
Absolutely killer for your first deal. We've obviously heard, the good, bad, and the ugly to get to where you are today. And it's amazing to see that you've had the resources from your father's ambition and his legacy to say, hey, real estate is a great avenue that you can potentially pursue. What made you decide to go into house hacking a duplex? I know a lot of us, when we first hear about real estate, it's, amazing. We'll find financial freedom. It can replace my 9-to-5, which is probably pretty crazy to really think about. But why for you was it house hacking? Why that strategy was your number one thing to do with real estate?
Yeah, so I had to look back and realize, okay, in my circumstance where I was in college at the time, had a W-2 job in banking, had a little bit of money because I actually got a full ride scholarship to go to school. And that allowed me to get paid during my internship, get a little bit of refund from the college, which I had a good chunk that I was able to put down for a down payment. So at the time when I was in banking and listening to the Bigger Pockets, reading other books, I heard the saying house hacking. And I was like, you can put 3.5% down on up to a 4-unit, be able to have a place to live, have your mortgage slightly covered or maybe covered fully, and be able to start your real estate journey with only 3.5, 3%, 5% down. So when I figured that out, I was like, that's my first step. And I think also the importance of hearing other people's story. And that's why I love sharing my story, and I'm intentional about it because I remember listening to other Bigger Pockets episodes. I remember listening and hearing from other people that were house hacking. And they told me, hey, I got this duplex when I started. I then did another one. I had some equity. I was able to use that equity to get a 20% down investment property and continue to scale. So while I was in school and in banking, I was like, what's the best way to get started and with my resources and where I'm at? And that's how I found house hacking. So I ended up learning more about it, figured out how do I find a duplex or 3 or 4 unit, make sure my taxes were in order. And for me, I was in school, they even allowed me to use my graduate degree and my transcripts to say, hey, he wasn't working full time while in school, but those transcripts counted as potentially hours. So that allowed me to get qualified and able to get that house hack where now, like I said, I'm cash flowing and building equity in the home.
I can also say that when I was in college, I did the same tactic as you, where I used that offer letter from my job coming out of college to say, yes, my 4 years of college was my professional experience. I have more professional experience lined up here. I've never made any money, but now I'm qualified to go and get a mortgage. And that's a really amazing tactic that I think a lot of people aren't aware of, but you've done it very successfully. I've done it, I'd say a little bit successfully, but this is where we're going to get a little bit different in our strategies now. I've house hacked a condo, a townhouse. You've house hacked multifamily. So I want to talk about numbers getting into that multifamily. If you wouldn't mind going back to day one of when you thought you found that property, how'd you analyze it? Can you tell us what you closed on? And then what like you said earlier, $300 of cash flow. That couldn't have just happened overnight. If you could tell us a little bit how you analyzed that deal.
Before I get into the numbers, I do want to talk about how I got it. You have to have patience. And I think that's what I want to get at. You have to have patience because this process started 2 years prior to me finding the deal. It started with me reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. It started with me listening to Bigger Pocket episodes. It started with me asking real estate agent questions, asking investors questions, talking to property managers. So this started way before I even found the deal. And I share that because if you don't know some of the behind the scenes that goes on with financing a deal, right, analyzing a deal, then I would never get to where I'm at. So I love to share that story of like, it takes patience. And when I found the deal, the great thing about it was I got pre-qualified. So I knew kind of my range of where I was at. And the beauty about multifamily, 2, 3, or 4 units, when you get qualified, if there's tenants in the property or it's a 2, 3, 4 unit, you can use some of the income to qualify you. So let's say you qualify for 250. If you have some rental income that's going to get from that property, I believe the lenders can use 75% of that to qualify you. So not only was I knew where my buy box was, but I also knew I could use some of the income from the other unit. So when I was analyzing this, for me, it was really, what could I do to lower my mortgage? That was really the start for me. What could I do to lower most people's big expense in their income? So for me, even if I was net negative, or even if I was paying $300, that's still a win versus paying $2,000 a month for a property, $1,500. That was a win for me. So I knew going in, even if I couldn't cash flow fully $500, $1,000, it's okay if I could just break even or pay barely minimum for the property. So when I looked at it, I was like, hey, this is a property where I can move in. And at the time, it was actually a rehab flip. So actually, there's no tenants in my unit. So this was a 2 unit side by side, 3 bed, 1 bath, about 1,300 square foot. And it just actually got rehabbed. And I think they actually got the better bargain because I think they bought it for $60,000 and then put some work into it and sold it to me for $190,000. So I bought it at $190,000. 3% down, which was actually a conventional loan, and it's called a portfolio loan, where it was actually a loan that stays in-house at a bank instead of getting sold off to the third parties, which I found out about that through networking. So I love to talk about that too, of like, there's so many products and services and resources that you have to go out and network with. But as far as the deal, $190,000, put 3% down. So after all said and done, closing costs, I think I put about $6,000 in, and I was able to move right in the next day after I closed. And a couple months later, I ended up putting up my other side for rent and got that side rented out about 2-3 months later. So right now the mortgage is around $15,430, and I had the other side rented out for about $1,250. So at the time I was still paying $200-$300. But here's the thing, I was living by myself in a 3-1. So I had buddies in college that needed a place to stay, and one of my best friends was like, hey, do you have a spot where I can live? I was like, yeah, like I'm living by myself. How about you come in? So that allowed me to now cash flow $300 while also having a place to stay, and I live with one of my best friends. So it's a win-win. So that's kind of the details of all that.
It's amazing how close and how different our stories are, because I'm actively house hacking with my freshman roommate in college who'll be moving out in the summer. And it's just been a luxury house hack compared to the other ones where I have my best friend house hacking with me. Like, what is this strategy now? So it's nice to see somebody else is mixing business with pleasure, even though that certainly is not the best way to do things. But yeah, I can absolutely relate. You look at it, like you said, you're going to go rent a place for $2,000. How can I cut that expense? But the other things that you're not missing on, but not touching on here right now, the principal pay down. You're the owner of the property and the tax benefits at the end of the year. Not only is your cash flow up monthly and your expenses down, but at the end of the year, you're going to look back and say, okay, I paid $5,000-$6,000 back on principal pay down. Property's depreciated X amount of dollars a year. I can write that off on my taxes. It's an amazing three-pronged attack that we're tackling here with house hacking, and you're definitely doing it the right way, my friend. Obviously, you're telling us the really good of everything that's happened. Can you tell us about some of the ugly that's happened? I know you can't have everything be all roses and sunshines and petals going on moving forward here. Can you tell us about some things that have maybe gone wrong, and what have you potentially learned and that you could have done better from any of those things?
Repairs, rehab. I'm not a handyman. I'm not good at fixing toilets. I don't know how to paint. That's just not my style, and that's just not me. And I think I had to realize that at the beginning. And I think anyone starting in real estate, you have to realize, what are your strong suits? What are your strengths? What are you good at? What are you not going to do? I know I had a day job. I know I'm more good with finance. I'm good with networking. I'm good at telling my story, speaking. I'm not meant to be rehabbing and trying to fix windows, toilets, put garages up. I know that's just not me. So I had to make sure I had the network around me that could do that, or someone that knows how to do that, because I ended up having a door mess up. I ended up having my HVAC mess up. I had a raccoon in one of my attics. When I first found out about it, I was like, oh my gosh, like, what do I do? Like, who do I call? The great thing about it is I went to networking events. I surrounded myself with other investors that I was able to call or text and say, hey, I have a raccoon in my attic. Like, who do I call? Hey, here's some pest control people. Hey, here's what you do. Here's what I did. Hey, your door's messed up. Let me get you in contact with my handyman. Now, not only did I get the problem fixed, but now I have a list of other people in my network that now I could call or text whenever I have more issues with more rental properties. So now I have a handyman that I have on speed dial. I have a pest control guy. I have an AC guy. I have an HVAC guy. Save, save, save. You want to have reserves. You never know what might happen. So those repairs I just talked about, if I didn't have savings, I would have been screwed. I didn't realize how much I needed saved in the time when repairs happen. My castle that I talked about, the $300, that's not really even going to anything because I'm putting that back into the business.
That is absolutely amazing advice. I mean, you shouldn't get into real estate unless you have the financial means and the purchase power to do it. And what you're saying is, don't over leverage yourself when you get into it. These things are inevitably going to come up. Repairs are going to happen. And when they do come up, be patient about them as well, like you said. So, moving forward here with real estate, this is obviously not the end goal for Ty Lewis. What are your goals coming up for 2024? What are you looking for 2025? Can you tell me what Ty Lewis is doing for the future?
My goals for me, I love to speak. I love to share my story. I love to mentor. I love to coach, because I got coached. I got mentored. I had people that went out their way to help me, even in real estate, showed me what a cash flowing property looks like, showed me how to do a cash out refi, showed me, how to look at deals and find them. So for me, it's like, what can I do to continue to help not only the community, not only my family, but just the world, right? Just learn about real estate, learn about perseverance, learn about being in the room, going to conferences, going to networking events. Because at the end of the day, I think I realized when my dad passed, it's not about me. Like, he lived his life and had his struggles, he had his successes, but I look back and he did what he did for me and for his family. And it would be really a disservice if I didn't do that for others that are looking for financial freedom, looking to find an opportunity, whether that's in real estate, whether that's in nonprofit work. Right now, I'm a director at United Way. I do a lot of volunteering. I host a lot of events where I get to expose people to educators, expose people to CEOs, expose people to what's going on in the community. So for me, I want to make it different. And I think for real estate, how that plays into it is I want to be able to build up cash flow and capital so that I can really speak and do what I love to do, which is mentor and consult and show people the way. And if they pay me, great. If not, that's okay. Real estate's paying for the bills. Real estate's allowing me to travel. Real estate's allowing me to come to your organization, come to your practice or whatever, and just be able to be my best self. So that's really my goals when we look at 2024, 2025, continue to build up my portfolio of rentals, continue to do some more rehabs or do a rehab. That I want to do my first burr this year and to get that capital so I can have that cash flow. I can have that equity in the home so that when I do want to speak, if I get paid, great. If I don't, I can still do it because the money's going to be there and I'm able to live out my dad's legacy, but also my legacy and my family's legacy. So that's my goals for 2024 and beyond.
Well, Ty, I'm not surprised to hear that your goals are obviously bigger than real estate. Your life is so much bigger than real estate, and you're kicking ass in life. So it's amazing to hear that you're not only crushing it, but you're giving back as you're crushing it on that path. So, Ty, I know where to find you. We obviously are going to have a lot more conversations here in the future, but where can our audience find you after this video airs?
Yes. So I'm on Instagram at Ty Louie, Tylewie, located in the Quad Cities, and would love to connect with you and would love to help you in whatever way I can, whether that's advice, resources, connections, whatever it might be.
Awesome, my friend. Well, if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Bigger Pockets YouTube channel if you want to hear more stories just like my friend Ty's. I'm Noah Bacon. Thank you all and have a great day.